Dylan.
Hey, Libba. How are you doing?
You know, last year of school, hashtag senior year, hashtag so scared, hashtag moving back in with mom, hashtag tears.
Hashtag truth, hashtag more tears, hashtag why is Kim Peacock leaving? Hashtag I want to see your peacock, your peacock, hashtag more tears, hashtag mounds of opportunity are over, hashtag why.
Also, it's getting really cold. Hashtag snow, hashtag snowmen, hashtag snow angels, hashtag why aren't there any snow women? Hashtag ain't nobody got time for that.
Hashtag time to dig out all my winter clothes, hashtag Patagonia, hashtag North Face, hashtag Columbia, hashtag everything and anything that Mass General Store sells, hashtag cold.
But spring
comes eventually at some point, right?
Hashtag beautiful, hashtag sunshine, hashtag everybody comes out of their caves and they've been freezing and hibernating for so long and everybody's like super pale.
Hashtag vampires, hashtag Walking Dead, hashtag except they are zombies and not vampires, hashtag awkward, but hashtag and then my favorite event comes, hashtag dance marathon, hashtag 15 hours of dancing, hashtag non-stop dancing, hashtag dancing for the kids, hashtag and we won't stop, hashtag we're gonna come in like a wrecking ball, hashtag win, hashtag Western Youth Network, hashtag parent to parent, hashtag it's a charity fundraiser, yo.
Hashtag February 22nd, hashtag legends, hashtag 10 a.m. to 1 a.m., hashtag fundraising, hashtag act.appstate.edu /dance marathon, hashtag last year we raised 26,000 G's, yo.
Hashtag wake me up when dance marathon gets here.
Wake me up when it's all over.
When I'm wiser and I'm older.
All this time I was blinding myself and I didn't know I was blind.